about this love, about this, about this love, about this love. How's everybody doing today? You're rocking with your host Dale Skinner. About this love podcast. I'm here with my wife Sherelle.
Hey.
We just this is just a continuation of episode 4. Marriage after years of dating and with children. Just a continuation with my wife again, just to kind of hopefully you guys are getting a feel for it now. I do one, she do we do one together. This is just a continuation. Before we begin, please do follow us on Facebook About This Love and Instagram About This Love. Tune into the conversations. Feel free to post or ask questions or topics you may want to hear. Without further ado, let's get to it. Go ahead, Sherelle. Start us off. Marriage after years of dating and children. What's your take on that?
I don't have no take on it, Dale, because we didn't date long before getting married at all. I have no take on it. Absolutely.
Well, but what's your perspective? What do you feel like? What do you feel like? Because I know today it's actually the norm. It's the norm. Like for somebody to be together for like 18 years before they get married, it's like that's norm. I mean, hey, my parents were together for like 13, 14, 15, 16 years before they got married. So I mean, I'm not sure if it was normal back then, but I know it's definitely normal now. It's actually it's normal. It's the way of life. But on the last podcast episode, I was more so approaching it from the perspective of somebody who would want to be married, but they are in a relationship with somebody who doesn't want to be married. And it's like, man, that's kind of like a deal breaker. But sometimes it's too late, or is it?
A deal breaker for who? Because I think we have that hope that somewhere along the line, I want this person's perspective of wanting to be with me. I want their perspective to change. I want their decision to change. What they want has to be what I want because we're in a relationship together, right? Isn't that how that works? Go ahead, say it.
I'll say no. And
Uh-huh.
and like I said on the previous podcast episode, I say no because oftentimes somebody not wanting to be married, it's deeper. Sometimes a lot of times it's deeper than just them not wanting to be married. It's much deeper than that. And oftentimes I feel like when you are in a relationship with somebody and they've already made it known to you beforehand, it's kind of like you made the bed, now you gotta lay in it because and I think I feel like I'm sympathetic for people who were misled, but for those who were not misled and kind of knew what it was from the beginning, whether it's a dude or a broad who knew what it was from the beginning, it's like, well, you were fully aware of the person's opinion or views about that before you begin to engage them in the relationship, and you still chose to engage them in the relationship. So now that you're in a relationship with them, you already knew what was up.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where I've heard people say before, like, well, I don't want all my hard work to be thrown away for some other woman or other man to come around and just kind of take the person. And I think we have this false reality of believing that, we can, I don't want to say control a person, but,
Change.
change a person, that we could change their views on us. We can change their heart towards us. I mean, even in our marriage, I've had to learn that there's just, that one, even though we're married, there's things that I think or that I believe that you might not necessarily think or believe, and that's okay. But there's a difference because we are married. So just think about two people who are unmarried, who are in a relationship, and one wants to be married, one wants to make this commitment, and the other doesn't. And it's just like, well, but hey, like you say you love me, you say that we're together, why not make the next step? And a lot of times I would caution someone in that situation because it's like, well, there's a whole nother level to marriage and commitment where it's like, well, if they were to get married to you today just to make you happy, not because they want to be married, but to make you happy, it's like there's a whole nother level of commitment.
That has to be done like willingly.
Yeah, well, that won't be fulfilled in their heart. I think there's a level of responsibility that it's just kind of like, well, you want this, you wanted this, so I don't have to take responsibility for my actions in within this relationship because you wanted this, not me. And I think that's very scary. One thing I've always asked myself, what ask the Lord, you know what would stop that person from leaving you if they already shown themselves. I think you said in a previous episode, um if someone has shown themselves to be, their actions aren't matching up with their words, it's like, well, they didn't mislead you. You allowed them, or they didn't mislead you and you didn't know. You've allowed yourself to be misled. And I'm just like, well, if this person is saying, no, 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 I don't want to be in a relationship. No, I don't want to be in a committed relationship in that way. I'm seemingly getting everything that I want from you, whether it be, we sharing the bills, we sharing the bed, so we don't need, why do we need to make that extra step? I mean, everything is all good already. I just don't feel as though we need to make that commitment to put it on paper. It's I don't know, it's one of those things where I feel as though, you know, I believe that there is, I what do you call it? Like something missing. It's a word for it that I can't put my finger on it.
Avoid.
Like avoidance, or there's a lack, there's a lack of commitment in their heart. There's a lack of responsibility that they're willing to take. And I think that
I don't think it's always that. And I said it because I've spoken to numerous gentlemen about the topic of marriage, and I don't, because like I think was it you or somebody was telling
nah,
me.
bust them out there, call them
No,
by
you
name.
no, I forgot what you
I'm
were
just
saying, but
kidding.
somebody was telling me that oh, you were talking about the TV show that we watch, Marriage at First Sight, or Love at First
Oh,
Sight.
married at first sight.
With a guy, at the end, where the guy chose not to stay married to the girl, and when they asked him why, he just said he just didn't want that, responsibility. And I think that oftentimes, I think that's what it is. Like when people, whether it's a man or woman, come into a relationship and the other person want to get married, and they're like, I don't want that responsibility. But then my thing is, like, you already sleeping with the person or living with them, so it's like, what responsibility are you talking about? The responsibility of them not of them having your name? Like, what responsibility are you talking to? And again, it goes back to just the individual in a relationship, because it was like, if you were of a sound mind and of a sound heart, would you even be in a position years later to, one, have children with somebody, be with them for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and still y'all not married? I mean, this is because I remember when you and I dated. I remember thinking to myself, man, I'm gonna give this broad, a year and a half.
Hey,
I'm gonna
I
give
ain't no
this
broad,
I'm gonna give
man.
this broad like a year and a half, 3, 4 years. Oh, well, I'm sorry. No, it was. I think it was 2. It was 2 years
I'm
max.
sorry. So wait. You said to
In
yourself,
my
I'm gonna get this broad
in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna give her like 2 years max.
2
And if we're not
years.
married by then, I'm gonna leave the relationship, because it's like I knew what I wanted. And when you know what you want from a relationship, you don't sit around waiting for someone to recognize what you want. It's
Well,
like and also you wanted the same thing, so it really wasn't a
I was
problem.
I was about to say, let's rewind that deal, because you ain't say, no, I'm gonna get this broad no
No,
2 years.
I didn't say it to you.
Would
I said it in my mind.
Okay, well, I'm glad to know that after the fact, because had you said that to me, it would have been like, excuse me, And not only that, when we first started like hanging around each other, even before, well, I guess in my mind, like we were still, friends getting to know each other. You said what you wanted. You said, well, this is when you were telling me about like you were just telling me about other females that you had liked in the past. And,
You funny.
we definitely weren't
We just friends.
we were just friends, because I would have been like, excuse me, I'm right here. Why are you talking about other
But
females?
you say he's just a friend.
Oh gosh, here you go with the songs. But no, you said to me, yeah, I hate wasting my time with people. When I feel like someone's wasting my
I
time,
roll out.
I roll out. And it could be looked at one or two ways, or in two ways, I should say. Either one, it could be looked at as, man, this dude doesn't want to put in any time or want to put in any work into a relationship. Or it could be looked at as, man, this dude knows what he wants. And when you had said that to me, I was like, man, he really knows what he wants. And then I think I started to take interest. I mean, I really started to take interest in you after that, because I was just kind of like, okay, so that means that he's not just out here just looking for anyone who walks by. It's like, no, I'm looking for somebody I can build a relationship with. And I think that people get into relationships like, well, I mean, it ain't work out the last like 5 Joe Blows. So what I'm gonna do now is, whoever this dude is, I'm just gonna ride it out and see how it happens. And I don't think the conversation
Ever evolves.
ever evolves from there, because I do know people who start off like day one.
To me,
Like
that's scary though. To me, that's scary.
I won't even say day one.
That's scary.
They start off looking probably at the profile picture, and I mean, come on, ladies, like we do that. We're just like, we size a person up, like.
I was laughing at the dude that proposed to the woman who proposed to the woman.
Wait,
the
what?
dude that proposed to the woman at KFC.
Oh my gosh!
You
Stop
said,
it! Stop it!
No. I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at the fact that he proposed to the woman. I'm laughing because I thought it was funny, because the a woman had put him on there was, it was on Facebook
No,
Facebook
it was
or something.
yeah.
But a reporter, I guess somebody who's a reporter or something, or a journalist, had seen this man propose to his girlfriend in a KFC, and she said, man, he's so broke, he can't he got to propose to her at KFC. And I was laughing because I was telling my wife, when I met my wife, we both were broke, but that's not the case anymore. And my wife, I was laughing at her because I was like, women nowadays, gold diggers, they want a man that's already come up, but they don't realize that, I know a few people that was, when they met their spouses, they was broke and busted and disgusted, as far as like what they look like. But now,
What they look like, how they live.
Yeah, they live, but now, what I'm saying, they got their paper right and driving Lexuses. So it's like, you can't always go by what a person looks like when you meet them, or when you engage in. No, if they 45 years old, and I mean, yeah.
Wait, hold on. So you just gonna slap an age on it?
They should have life together by then, yeah.
At 45.
But I thought it was funny, because I was like, well, when I met my wife, I was broke too. So man, I thought, that's why I thought it was funny that the woman had
put him on blast.
But because of that, KFC funded the man's wedding and his
they
honeymoon?
got in contact with him. Yeah. So they got in contact with the couple, and I believe a wedding planner kind of planned out their whole wedding itinerary for free 99.
Won't God do it? Won't he do
it? Dale, so what we got to do is go to maybe not KFC, but maybe Popeyes,
and buy the chicken sandwich first, right?
Buy the chicken sandwich, and then, because there's a lot of people there, so we can go viral. And I'm gonna take my ring off. You could just, I don't know, maybe we could go get like a little bubble gum.
I haven't had
bubblegum machine ring.
I haven't had a chicken sandwich yet.
Okay, this episode is not about the Popeyes chicken sandwich, and we're just going left on this. I see.
Yeah, but just to kind of, I'm sorry. I just wanted to. I kind of went left with that.
You
can
tell somebody's hungry.
But my point, my point in saying that is that nowadays people, they don't want somebody who they perceive as broke. They want somebody already on the come up. But the reality of it is, you may find somebody who is broke, but when they get you, you may be their motivation for wanting to get on the come up. But anyways,
But I don't.
marriage,
Oh.
marriage after years of dating and with the children.
Oh, okay. You were coming back around to
Coming
it.
back to that.
Yeah, because I'm just like, well, on the come up, is that why somebody would want to marry you because you're on the come up? Because what about the celebrities who prime example, Cassie and Diddy. That was like a big news story about how Cassie currently at this time as we're recording, and I don't know if you don't know who Cassie is. She was a recording artist who put her music on the back burner and dated P. Diddy, or Diddy as he's called now, and dated him for years. And I believe she's now in her 30s. She's probably like 32 or so.
Oh wow.
And yeah, but
50s?
yeah, Diddy dates young girls. But either way, she left Diddy, and maybe like a few months later, yeah, she left Diddy, and a few months later, she is pregnant, married. She married her trainer, and it's like, she didn't want to waste any more time. And so I don't know what happened behind the scenes, and we would probably never know the true story of or dynamics of someone's relationship and what happened behind the
Wasn't
scenes.
in love. That's what happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, but I think that's just one thing that's like out there on Front Street that we could see as an example of someone wasting their time, wasting years of being in a relationship with someone, and it not go anywhere. They don't want to be married, they don't want to settle down. And it's just kind of like, man, but this is what, in my heart, this is what I want. I thought he was going to change. And those people have money. It's not even that they're broke and, Cassie was looking for a come up. Like, I'm sure that she made plenty of connections behind the scenes where she can make her own money, especially during like this day and age where women are, making boss moves on their own. You know what I'm saying? And they feel like they don't need a man, and some, they're doing it without a man or a significant other. So I don't feel like she was, on a come up, but the fact that she just kind of, after, I don't know how many years they were together, but now she's pregnant and married, and people see that as a dang, she left Diddy and she really was serious about, her like moving on with her life and having children and things like that. I want to give an example. It was before I met you, Dale. And I've shared this with you before, and I've probably shared this on the podcast before, but it was before I met you, and it was this person that I was really interested in.
Mhm.
Like, and, I thought he was like sent from the Lord and yada, yada, yada. He was, I guess, marking all the checks in the boxes. And, one day I said, hey, what is this? What are we doing? Like, where do you see this going? And it might have been a month in, but, I had made the mistake. I already planned our life together in my head. Okay, come on now. Somebody please leave in the comments.
Let me jump on it.
Please drop in the comment section if you've done that before, because realistically, we as women, I feel like we do that because we just do. We think about this.
Well, let me be the first one to tell you, if no one's ever told you before, ladies, that is very foolish. But continue on. It is.
Let me just tell my daydreamy story, okay? I had planned our whole like life, and and he even said like, oh well, I want you to meet my mom and this and that, and I was just like, oh my gosh,
jackpot!
Exactly. He want me to meet his mama. It's going good.
Want me to meet his mama?
It's solidified when you meet
come to the family cookout.
I was gonna say, if you go into the family reunions, the cookout, you know it's a thing. But he was still like seeing other people, and he was still telling me like that was the thing. That's one thing that you said. If actions aren't matching up with your work,
a few podcasts ago, I said that.
Yeah, but I mean, it could still be applied here, and I was just kind of like, okay, let me actually a friend and client of mine at the time had encouraged me. She said, you know what? He sounds like a really great guy, but have you ever asked him what he wanted? Where this was going? It seems like you guys are getting pretty serious. I think you should just ask him. And I was just like, I'm like, well, but I mean, and a lot of people was like, you know, you need to ask him, what he wants. And I was just kind of like nervous because I didn't want my heart to be broken. I had already planned like with our kids, everything. And so, I asked him that night. We hung out and I said, hey, where's this going? And he told me. He told me like it was. But then not only did he tell me like, well, we just friends, right? And I'm just like, I was gonna meet your mama and we just friends? You was gonna meet my child and we're just friends? Like, oh heck no. That really broke my heart. But not only that, he then went on to say, like, yeah, but we can still be friends. So in that moment, I could have, you know what, but he still want to be my friend. You know what? He still want to be around me, and thought that I still had a second chance when he's told me. And that wasn't even the first time
Yeah.
that he told me. That was the first time that he told me after I asked. But
If
there
a
was,
man friend zone you, if a man friend zones you, he don't see
after I meet his mama.
he doesn't see a future with you far as dating. If a man friend zones you,
uh,
and
there,
a lot of women don't realize that.
what, I don't believe. Look, I don't believe in that friend zone. It. What I believe is, if I could lead you on, I will.
I mean, no, it's true. No, it's true though. It is. It's true. Friend zone.
If I could still get, is that a friend zone? Because I don't think that's a friend.
What are you talking about?
I think that's just somebody who wants to.
Friend zoning is a terminology.
I
It's
know
not.
what friend
It's not an
zoning
actual.
means.
It's not like you actually my friend. It's just like
There's people who get friend zoned.
if I can be your friend and get what I want from you, then hey, we can continue this friendship. But when I can't no longer get what I want from you, hey, I'm over. I'm gone. That's what it really means. Friend zone.
Okay, fine. We can go with your definition of friend zone.
It's not definition. It's what it is.
Well, okay, yeah, it's what it is. It's what it is.
I didn't create the stuff. The current culture created.
I don't even think they say. I don't even think they even go as far as to say friend zone.
No, they don't say it, but it's what it is.
Oh, okay.
They don't say it.
Okay, well that's fine.
Kind of like it's like nobody uses the word. No, well, nobody really says, "Oh, hey, Brittany, this is a situationship." Nobody says that, but it's like it is what it is. I call you up, you call me up, we do what we do, then we roll out. It's a situationship.
Oh, you told Brittany that? It's just a name.
Move on. Next.
Okay. Anyways, so I really think that in that time, going back to my little fantasy fairy tale of like me thinking that I had that decision that I had to make. Like, okay, well, he said I was going to meet his mama. He said he wanted to, meet my son. How about this? I could either continue on with, like hanging out with him, having conversations with him, still bringing him around or bring him around my family, and then hope for the best, hope that he sees the best in me, and then we can move on from there because he has so many good qualities. Or I could I could do the thing that's hard and swallow my pride, which that's really hard to do. I think, rejection, people fear rejection, even though it could be in their face every day, but just being rejected in the way of like, oh well, like to your face, just out there like that. I think that's even harder for a lot of people. And I think that's why we don't ask. Well, we may ask, but we don't accept the fact that this person really doesn't want to be with me. You know?
Yeah, and I think the sad reality of it is that oftentimes people begin to live their whole lives with somebody and never would have experienced true love. I remember I was watching this TV show, and I think the woman and her husband had they had 2 children, and they were millionaires. And I think at that point of the show, she thought she had cancer and she was gonna die, blase blase. But I think one night she was sitting with her friend and she was drunk, and she was like, I could have my whole life, I spent 30 years of my life with somebody that doesn't love me, and she was like, I wasted my life, and I think for a lot of people, if you're somebody, who are in this, who is in something, a kind of a situation like this right here, and you actually don't, just don't, you know get some courage, seek the Lord, and get courage or counsel, and just, recognize it for what it is, and and like I said on the previous podcast, either see if the person wants to continue in a marriage, or just roll out. You're gonna wake up one day, and 20, 30 years would have gone by, with life, and you wake up, and you're laying next to somebody that doesn't love you, because you chose to stay in a relationship. Basically fear kept you in the relationship. And it's 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 something about people that do not have a heart for the truth. Like they actually prefer a lie. I remember oftentimes I tell my wife, I quote the scripture. I forget the address, but it was a scripture in the Old Testament where the Bible says that a lying spirit went before the Lord. I guess there was a prophet. It was a false prophet. And the lying spirit, asked one before the Lord and said, can I prophesy to them? And the Lord said, go ahead. And I believe it was a specific king that a prophet the Lord had previous given a prophecy to, and he didn't believe him. He wouldn't believe him. So he asked for a false prophet, or another prophet to come who was a false prophet, and the Lord told the lying spirit, go ahead, prophesy to him, and he prophesied to him a lie, and I believe that the king actually died. But I think that the moral of that little story is scripture, is that, like, oftentimes when we don't have a heart for the truth, we will be lied to. We'll be lied to, and sometimes we'll even be content with that lie, because we don't want the truth.
Mm.
We want a lie. I want you to tell me you love me, even though I know you don't love me. I want you to tell me you want to marry me, even though I know you don't want to marry me. I want you to tell me you want me to have your children, even though I know you don't want me to have your children. That's the
Wow.
type of world that people live in. They want you to lie to them.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the part that we can't we can't not mention, um I know that's a double negative, but I think that what we have to mention is just the amount of anger, or the amount of resentment, or the amount of you know toxicity that will come from kind of forcing somebody's hand in that way, um to make them feel like that they don't have a decision, that
I mean,
um
I don't think you'll
they
be forcing their hand, because they'll marry you to shut you up, and have, or go down the street
well,
that,
no,
that
I
they
mean,
love. So it's like he ain't forcing their hand at all.
so I just want to give this example. There was a storyline where this woman posted in this young lady had posted in this mom's group, and she was just talking about how, okay, yeah, she slept with this guy and she ended up pregnant, and so the guy wanted nothing to do with her and actually offered her money for to abort the child. And because I believe that he was married and had kids or whatever. And so more of the story is she didn't abort the child, and then she ended up taking him to court for child support. And so he ended up killing her and the child. And you know that reading the story, or seeing how things played out and reading people's comments about that story, people were like, well, you put a child on him and he didn't want that, or, oh, that's so sad because, he, excuse me, he laid down with her. But I think that, in both, um, not to victim blame, but in both, it's almost like they were both misguided. Why did he go and lay down with her? I mean, it could have been anyone. And who's to say it was a child, that was involved? If, let's say that she was just trying to blackmail him, do you feel sorry for the person who's being blackmailed? You know what I'm saying? Like, had he not killed them, but let's say they stayed together, or even, he promised her that they'll be together, whether there was a child involved or not, knowing that he had a wife and children at home. I think that the level of maybe anger that came with that situation of, okay, dang, I made this decision to sleep with this girl, and now I made a decision to sleep with this girl, and now I have to deal with it. Now, so should I marry her? Should I leave my wife? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I think that um for both the person, for both the female, had she still been alive, and it's unfortunate. I think the whole situation is unfortunate, really. But had she still been alive, and had the situation been different, and let's say they were to have like pursued a relationship, you know, would he have been fully committed in that relationship? And I think that's the thing that we don't, consider when choosing a mate. I don't think we consider that when choosing, the person that we want to have children with. We don't think about it at all. Like you said earlier in the podcast, or maybe in a previous podcast, like when you're in the heat of passion before you have like a bunch of kids, you know, do you stop and think, like, what, who is this person? Do they really, are they really committed to me, or am I just sleeping with them? And of course nobody thinks that way, right? Of course nobody.
I did.
Okay, well, you did, but what I'm saying
I'm being
is,
honest. I'm being honest. I did. I'm not even joking right now. I'm being dead serious.
I mean, but I'm sure that there's people who have, I'm sure that there's men and women out there who have thought about it, and that's why they've waited until marriage, or they've waited until they were in a committed relationship. Million Dollar Matchmaker, she always says, no sex before. What did she say? I can't even remember. I hadn't watched that show in so long, but it was like no sex before. Not polygamy. Oh Lord, not polygamy. Monogamy. I'm sorry. And even though that's a worldly saying, because I know why, but I understood why she was saying that, because it's just like, well, if this person is not promising you or showing you signs of, like, showing you signs that I want to be committed to you, why would you go all in with a more intimate relationship in that way?
Yeah, it's very foolish.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
And so I think the outcome, and I brought up that last example, about how that turned out, because I wanted to just highlight, maybe, I wanted to just kind of bring to the light, maybe he was angry, maybe he was confused by his own decisions, and he couldn't think of no other way out, and that doesn't make it right. It's very sad, but it's also too, are you willing to lose your life over being with are you willing to lose your life over being with somebody? Whether it be you actually, die from, you actually die from being abused, physically, or you go into a deep depression because that person did not, turn out to be who you thought they were, going to be.
What's even more scary, and it actually kind of baffles me. It baffles me a lot, because oftentimes you do hear stories of where people, young men get women pregnant. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yo, are people that trusting that you would trust that somebody that doesn't have an AIDS or HIV? Like, are you that trusting? Like, is
I
that?
don't think people care.
I mean, no, you're 100% right. People don't care. But I'm just, in the back of my mind, I'm always like, yo, are you that trusting that you would just trust? You would trust a moment of passion with the totality of your life, like. That this person, does they have AIDS, HIV? Like, do you know? Like, do you know? Like, without doubt, it's like, to me, that's just like to do something like that without protection is my point. Without protection, it's like it's just kind of, to me, it's mind blowing. It's baffling.
People don't think they will run into it, just like people don't think that they will end up in an abusive relationship or end up in the different circumstances that they find themselves in. And so, I mean, we've heard stories about people who have, in the news all the time, who have gotten maybe or tried to infect like 70 people or slept with over 100 people and tried to infect them because of what they've been through. And now the person's in jail, but it's like, okay, so you've done jail time, but I'm about to lose my life because I have I have this disease that you wanted to give, you wanted to just kind of spread out.
It's unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but I think just going back to, bringing it back home base, as we're closing out this podcast, I believe like my closing remarks would be that I think that we should take a step back, um, and really assess our relationship, whether we've been in this relationship for, I don't know, 5 to 7 years, and we're still not married, or you know what, even if we are considering someone, considering dating somebody, to see where it goes, let's look at what we're actually doing, who this person actually is. How about we ask them the tough question? Maybe not on day one, but let's take the time to listen and hear their heart. And if they don't open up their heart to you, even just a little bit, not to say that they need to tell their whole life story and things like that, but I think that if they open their heart and we open up our ears to listening to hear what's on their heart, then it's kind of like, we can hear, what, they just want maybe a come up, or they just want someone to sleep with, or they just want someone to, fill in a gap. They really don't want me, or it doesn't matter who it is. And so, and I think that will help us in our decision making, as far as wanting to make that serious leap of considering marriage with somebody, or considering trusting our lives with someone. Okay, Mr. Skinner. So, is there anything you want to say? You want to close this podcast out?
No, just thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for allowing us just to be a voice in your life. Always, um, everything we're saying is meant to be encouraging, and just to provoke you to a deeper thought. It's never meant to put anyone down. It's not our intentions. So forgive us if it comes off as that, but that's not the case at all. Thank you for rocking with us. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and
At
you can
About This Love.
yeah, about this love. I'm sorry, yeah, at about this love, and you can ingest our podcast on Audio Mac, YouTube, and Facebook video. Again, we're out. Peace and blessings.